Hi, everyone. Greetings and welcome to our fourth event of our new Inspire, Amplify, and Prepare series, Nurturing Minds, Mental Health Awareness. This event's purpose is to create a space to explore the intersection of identity, mental health, and education. By addressing the unique mental health challenges that communities of educators face, we aim to promote awareness, provide support, and encourage practices that prioritize well-being in the teaching profession at large. This event is open to anyone seeking to empower educators from all backgrounds to take care of their mental health while positively impacting their classrooms and their communities. For the purposes of today's discussion, we are following the World Health Organization's definition of mental health, a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well and work well, and contribute to their community. It is an integral component of health and well-being that underpins our individual and collective abilities to make decisions, build relationships, and shape the world we all live in. Mental health is a crucial part to personal, community, and socioeconomic development. I am Dr. Nuri Castro, and I serve as the Director of Program Development and Strategic Initiatives here at Teach. I am excited to be your moderator today and your host for our live webinar. I promised a very brief overview of Teach. So our mission at Teach is to end the national teacher shortage and serve as the recruiting arm for the teaching profession. We partner directly with state departments of education, school districts, teacher preparation programs, and community organizations. We are a free one-stop shop for anyone interested in becoming a licensed educator. Our team at Teach can support anyone, no matter their background, to become a licensed educator. This also specifically includes high school students considering the classroom, college students yet to decide their major, or career changers interested in a new path. Our personalized support includes free one-on-one coaching and advising with current classroom educators who serve as licensure coaches, scholarships and fee reimbursements, educator preparation program and scholarship search tools, customized checklists, how-to guides, and email, text, and chat support. Currently, we offer personalized support in the following states and regions: Colorado, Connecticut, Dallas, Houston, Minnesota, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, San Antonio, and South Carolina, to try to encourage as many people as possible to enter this profession through which they can have such a profound impact on their local community. And so next, and probably the most exciting part, I'm going to introduce both of our panelists that we will hear from for the next while that we're together today. So we're going to start in Texas first with Jody. Jody has spent about a decade teaching science education to Title I schools in Virginia, Texas, and Colorado, and 6 years guiding yoga classes. Through his nonprofit, Cornbread Yoga, they aim to provide yoga for underrepresented spaces around San Antonio, Texas. Jody, being an educator, correlates teaching yoga with providing tools and resources for students. Another exciting point to share here is that in this season, Jody is planning to go back to the classroom, and we can't wait to hear more about this in our conversation. So welcome, Jody. And next, we're going to move to Colorado to introduce the newly minted Dr. Jeremy Eddy, who currently serves as the STEAM Academy Director at Robert F. Smith STEAM Academy in Denver Public Schools. In this role, he leads the design and implementation of an academy model that focuses on ensuring that scholars have the option to not only pursue high-paying and high-demand careers, but also pursue higher education. As the previous senior manager of talent acquisition for Denver Public Schools, Jeremy led all of the recruitment efforts for school-based positions within the district, with a keen focus on recruitment and retention of diverse talent that mirrored that of the students in the community. He obtained a Master of Arts in Middle Level Education at Clemson University as part of the nationally acclaimed Call Me Mister program, an initiative to increase the pool of available male educators of color among the state's lowest performing elementary schools. Jeremy is also the co-founder and chief program officer of the Colorado Men of Color Collaborative, a nonprofit organization that focuses on the mental health, social mobility, and career advancement of Black men in Colorado. He also serves on several local boards in the state of Colorado. Welcome, Dr. Jeremy Eddy. So as I said, I'm going to guide us through a discussion with some planned questions for our panelists. Once that is wrapped up, we are going to open it up to live attendee questions and reactions. So this is another reminder to use that Q&A feature in Zoom and send us any questions or reflections you have throughout the time. So I'll bring down my screen and start a discussion with y'all. All right, Jody and Dr. Jeremy Eddy, welcome again. So to start out, this question is for the both of you. I would love to hear about how your identities impact your mental health and what specific challenges do you face in maintaining your well-being? And either of you can start.
I will elect Dr. Jeremy Eddy to get started.
Oh, how kind of you. I appreciate, first of all, thank you for being here. Appreciate that question. And, as you mentioned, our identities or my identity as a Black male, I think growing up, I will attest to talking about my mental health and I'll be honest, my mental health or our mental health, it wasn't talked about, at my Thanksgiving table. It wasn't, we didn't say, hey, how was your mental health around, turkey, dressing and candy yams, so I think really thinking about, how am I maintaining, my mental health and well-being, especially as a school leader. I think you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional and really thinking about, how can I take care of myself so I can take care of students and I can take care of my staff, right? Because you can't take care of those folks without ensuring that you're pouring into yourself. What is the saying? You can't pour from an empty cup. So again, really taking a step back and really focusing in, take that walk, right? Take that walk and go in your office and close the door, right? And really breathe and really think about, pouring into yourself and having, it's okay to have a bad day, but what are you going to do when that office door opens up and that bell rings, right? Again, pouring into yourself and ensuring that you have that peace and understanding that you're pouring into kids and pouring into adults.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And yeah, that's on the payback on that. It was really important too. Actually, one of my mentors, Dr. Emmanuel Little, at Georgia College, called me Mister. He had that chapter in Milledgeville, Georgia, and one of the things I always asked him, like, how did you get to be so cool? Because he always wore these like very elaborate suits in the middle of Georgia. I was like, oh man, how are you doing that right now? But he was someone who always was like, hey, whether you are an educator, whether you are just a student, or not just a student, but whether you're trying to maybe get into it, here's what you can do to be supportive. I know culturally too, like a lot of the times I'm in these spaces, I may not have this cultural connection being in mostly either white or Latino spaces. And so it's a little bit like, hey, here's your first Black educated man around you. So it's a little bit difficult at times. At the same time, like being able to like be myself and also like, hey, I want to know about you. I know you want to know about me. Biases aside. So that's been very important for me. And of course, being able to reset. My reset is huge. That's why sometimes when I'm doing a yoga class, hey y'all, we're not gonna be moving a lot. We're just gonna hang out with ourselves and we're gonna see here are some tools and resources so we can reset ourselves to move forward. So that's been one of the bigger things. Yes, I will be the disciplinary figure. At the same time, I'm also someone like, hey, like let's take a moment and just have a conversation because obviously we're both wherever we're having a conversation with my peer or a student, we're both at this level. Let's try to figure out what the main issue is, and we can, progress and move forward in our relationship.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I love that. Something that you said, Dr. Eddy, reminded me of what made me want to ask you. So you said this is a topic that wasn't talked about a lot and wasn't something you talked about at Thanksgiving or maybe in a casual family setting. So what are some things that you do or some resources or tips or tools for having these conversations now in the spaces that you are in?
You know, I think that's a good point. I think some tools, some tricks, and some tips is is being okay, right? Being
Mm,
okay, number one, with asking for help or being
mm,
okay with seeking out the resources, right? Because again, let's be honest with ourselves, right? Black males, Hispanic and Latinx males, we oftentimes we don't ask for a help. We don't ask for assistance with mental health resources, right? I'll say my family, right? Oh, you're gonna go get a therapist? Oh, you're gonna go get
mm,
a mental health? You must be crazy. No, I'm asking for assistance because number one, I may not know how to cope, right? I
mm,
dealt with a lot of trauma in my childhood,
mhm,
as with many of my other peers, right? So again, similar to, a lot, like I said, a lot of my peers. So if I'm asking for assistance, that's a great thing, right?
mhm.
So again, just asking for asking for that assistance, asking for that help, and saying, look, I can't do it on my own.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and have these conversations. So again, I know how to self-regulate.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. So both of you have been in the classroom and in various education settings. So what are some common mental health stressors that you experience, particularly in the classroom, and how did you cope with them?
Um, I guess like the big things for us is being in the education background, whether, as an instructor, I worked in Boys and Girls Clubs. I did a lot of summer programming before I even got into teaching. Being able to be like, I already know my background. I know I'm educated. I know who I am. I know I'm really good at my job. But it was like this weird competitive edge to prove myself in a way, and it
Mm,
wasn't unnecessary. It's like, guys, I got my degree, like that sort of energy. But being able to know like who you are, like my identity, like I am fully aware of my like who I am and how I'm supposed to navigate the classroom. But I know like going back to even having a community such as Call Me Mister in Middle Georgia, which I kind of dabbled in here and there. We also have other programs like the TFA programming. There's a chapter of Black and Latino educators here that's to me it's like, oh, these guys are really cool. Like, and how are y'all doing in school? It's like, well, I didn't have a chance to talk about it with anyone. So being able to have these like certain groups to push forward with and also just having those check-ins. Because a lot of my family, there are people who are very supportive of me. My auntie's a teacher. I have a few cousins. Being able to talk about these little small things to me that maybe is like, maybe why am I so bent off of it? Like there is a brotherhood in San Antonio. There is a brotherhood within my family. Small amount, a little small percentage, but they are there to be able to check in, whether it be monthly, weekly. Hey, I sent a text to my auntie, hey, did you have to deal with this before? She's like, yeah, 100 million times. I've been teaching for 32 years. So like, yeah,
mm,
yes, ma'am, I understand. So being able to identify those stressors, like if it makes you feel uncomfortable and you have no idea why, I thought, as you said earlier, Dr. Eddie, to be able to be okay with sharing that information, especially with someone who has, um, you say like I guess a long career, who has been doing this, like they have some sort of, they have maybe dealt with it maybe in a different way, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So normalizing that asking for help. And it sounds like mentorship too, right? Like having support from other educators and from folks who can serve as mentors to kind of guide us through that.
And I'll piggyback on that and add, lack of support,
Mm,
right? Lack of support within that classroom setting. I
mm,
think oftentimes we see, our administrators, our folks from different settings, they'll come in, right? But they'll come in during observation times or evaluation times only, right?
yeah.
But hey, feel free to come check on me, during the other times, during those,
Mm,
you know, I'm still here, right? I'm still here. Come
mhm,
check in on me. Come just put that little sticky note on me,
mhm,
and say, hey, I saw you doing a good job, right? Those are some
mhm,
of those mental health stressors where, do you know your staff? Do you
Mm,
know your teachers? Do you know them as people and as humans, right? We talk about work-life balance, but are you balancing your life in your work, right? I oftentimes say, don't take that grade, don't take that paper home to grade it, right?
mm, mhm,
And again, and I often say that to staff here within my building as well, it's guess what? It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there on Monday, right? Spend time with your family, right? Spend
mhm,
time with your family, and then the last thing I'll say is burnout, right?
mm,
That burnout is real. Burnout is real, and you all know that, right?
yeah,
Our women of color experience burnout at a much higher rate than our white males.
yeah,
That is a fact, right? But
yeah,
how can we ensure that we're taking care of our bodies and our minds so that we can pour into our students, right? So
yeah,
we have to do the work.
yeah, for sure. What better way to pour into our minds and our bodies than yoga, right? That was a perfect segue. My next question was, I want to hear a little bit about what ways you all think schools and districts can better support the mental health of their educators, and what systemic changes are necessary. And Dr. Eddie, I think you kind of opened that up really well.
Being intentional,
Mm, mhm,
being intentional. Oftentimes say you can't recruit without retaining, and retaining is part of, mental health is part of retention,
yeah.
right? Um, Mental health resources. We talk about that, and again, we often bucket teachers and educators all in that same pot, right? Your social
Mhm,
workers, your nurses, your administrators, and all of that. But again, we have to continue to start treating people like adults, right?
mhm,
And does that look like providing them the flexibility and autonomy to teach the curriculum that they need, right?
mhm,
Providing professional development that meets their needs, promoting self-care.
mhm.
I saw um, uh, something in the news about goat yoga, right? I've never done it, but can we? I don't know how if anybody will approve of this. Can we bring goats in the schools? I don't know if I'm not sure, but again, I think that'd be cool. But again, just providing some opportunities and options for educators to get that self-care within the building.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. I'm down for some goat yoga.
Yeah, no, and that's like the cool thing too. Uh, One of my old principals actually prioritized little small things that I didn't know that I needed. So, whenever there's a week, sometimes there is a week in the middle of a very stressful time of year. One of the things I will never forget that there was, I think it was like 5-minute massages during our, hey, I'm gonna pull you from class to have like a 5 or 10 minute massage if you elect to do so, or you can just sit in this room and just meditate. And I will never forget, like, of course, I love the pizza and all that, but being able to kind of sit down in this calm room, there's nothing in there to like, there's not that loud noise, not even going crazy.
Mhm.
That little small thing in the middle of the year, I know, I was like, yeah, that was really nice. And we were still talking about it, like, that was, yeah, yeah, it was short, but it was like, man, I really needed, like, some folks have never received um a very, a simple 10-minute a 10-minute interaction with their body to see how they are doing and are able to kind of set from there. There are some things that need to be like, hey, we are doing this whether you want to or not, because I promise you it's going to be better for the long run. Um, yeah, of course, I love the free pizza. I'm always going to be down for the free pizza and the donuts and like that's fine. But kind of not forcing, but hey, like we're gonna do this because I think this will be beneficial for you, and also looking for that feedback.
Mhm.
Because no matter who's in the actual space, like we're all working together. And I say even as simple as, "Hey, good morning." I know that's a big thing. That's a big flag for me. You say good morning in the hallway, that might make my day. I'm like, oh, thank you, I needed that today. Thank you. He's like, hey man,
Yeah.
hey Mr. Whiting, you're doing a good job.
Mhm.
Really? The middle of class, like, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
And those things can really go a long way. And then also, as you said earlier about retention of staff and be able to have that sort of community. if you know for a fact, like, hey, like I'm gonna be checking in every once in a while to make sure that you're doing okay. And also having a mentor, because sometimes a mentorship can be a lot to ask of someone. So like I'm someone like, hey, I need a mentor. I asked my old high school teacher, hey, remember me? No, that's fine. Can you be my mentor? It's like because I know this job can be sometimes impossible to do. But I remember how you made me feel as a kid. Is it okay if I check in with you once a month? Just
Mhm.
so I can just talk. And
Mhm.
that was really helpful. As I kind of got back into teaching as well. But yeah, just little small things and knowing the individual rapport with someone can be really awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's a perfect segue into this next question too of what role does community play in supporting your mental health? And how can educators, particularly aspiring educators, build and maintain these supportive networks outside even of their building?
I kind of what we kind of been really coming back to is being able to, when you're starting in a school district, I know I started with Norfolk Public Schools. I didn't know what this is. I didn't know what teaching was or is.
Mhm.
I probably still don't at times. But having those programs in place and kind of, once again, hey, you're in this program. It's mainly because we don't know that first year you can do student teaching all you need to, but we got to figure out how this is going to affect you. So that first, and I would say that first semester for me for that first year of teaching was really huge. And being in these groups and safe spaces where I could talk to other educators in a similar background was really, 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 really important as well. Especially if, and then also too, if you're working in a space you have not worked before, like I grew up in the suburbs. I did, I grew up in the suburbs. My school had what it needed, and I just went about my day. There wasn't really a lot. So being able to take a step back and working in a different background for me, and people tell me like, hey, just letting you know you may deal with this, and
Mm.
here's how you can function is going to be very important. So that leadership, no matter it be their grade team lead, maybe admin, whether it be the district, was really, really essential for being able to function that first year as well. But just to share a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. Eddie, you got something to add?
Yeah, I think community plays a huge role, right? A huge
Hmm.
role in supporting not only my personal mental health, but the mental health of the folks in the building, right? I
Hmm.
think that um, we could talk about, myself, but I think again, the folks in our building, they not like I said, our teachers, our office support, our special education teachers, our psychologists, our social workers. I think those are the folks that, you know, if we're being honest with ourselves, me as a school leader sitting at this desk, that's great. That's fine and dandy. But I think ensuring that the folks who are on the grind every single day, right? Building
Hmm.
those community partnerships, right? I have a partner with Denver Health, right? Lockheed Martin and really those folks who are just, like we said, the donuts and pizza, that's great. But how can I get them to really pour into our staff and say, you know what, this is what we need, whether
Hmm.
that be a financial gift or whether that means just coming in and being a guest speaker or uh, providing some tutoring support or providing some professional development dollars for our staff because we
Yeah.
know per pupil funding is per pupil funding, right? Or
Hmm.
this is professional development dollars. But I think that to me ties into mental health. That ties into providing options for our staff to go to that conference. So those are the type of things that I utilize our community partners for and really getting them out and about and learning and perfecting their craft.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about, and this was one of the questions in the chat recently. Tell me about how you know what your staff needs. Do you ask them? Do you put out a survey? Do you just know the things? How do you learn that piece to know what to do with it?
Good question. I mean, I asked
Mhm.
them. I asked them one,
Mhm.
if I'm not getting the feedback or anything like that, I'll put out a survey. But more than likely, I'll just ask them, hey, what do you need? How can
Yeah.
I be a support? How can I ensure that you get absolutely everything that you need to be the most effective staff member here within the building? Because
Hmm.
again, if you're not having those conversations with your staff day in and day out, then how do you know what they need? Right?
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
guess what? You may get some feedback that you don't want to hear. But guess
Yeah.
what? That's the part of leadership. Leadership is not it's not always fun, or it's not always 100% the best. But I think again, you have to hear from your staff.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. So another question from one of our live attendees: what are the most significant mental health issues or mental health stressors that you are seeing in schools, or that you have seen in schools before? For either of you, both of you.
Oh, I actually one thing. Well, also, I thought that I may need to hit you up for a job because you sound awesome. But no, I realized like the leaders that were able to be most successful, the ones who were able to, a lot of those stresses, because there is a million and one stresses that come with being in the school, whether you are like cleaning off the desks, whether you are having kids come to your the clinic to check in, whether you're at the front, there's always going to be a million and one things that are there and relevant. But I did notice when it comes down to leaders, one of the questions that I was asking, because I've been kind of interviewing around with different schools, like I always ask the principals and I also ask the fellow educators, what exactly um, do you find supportive of your admin? I was like, what's one thing that you love, one thing that you like would really like from them? And I noticed whenever I asked that question, I just wanted to know, like, hey, if there was a mistake on my end or on their end, what exactly happened? Like, what is the next
Yeah.
step? Is it 100% blame on one person? Is it like, are you active listening? Like, what is going to happen? Because that was a huge thing for me. And I noticed I was the most comfortable when admin was able to be like, okay, here's what here's an issue. I'm not exactly sure how to navigate it. I tried to use the skills and knowledge you've given me, whether it be during PD, whether it be for the first before school trainings and all that, it's not really working out very well. Um, what would you like? What is one more thing, or hey, what can you step in and figure out? Because like that is the huge thing. No matter what, whether you've been teaching for 1 year or 30 years, there are so many things that happen. What little small things are in place that's going to be able to help anyone be successful, whether it be the custodian or whether it be the nurse, whether it be me in the classroom, or even support and push and support. I think it's very important to have those like little small things, and it could be something that's just casual, like hey, 5, 10 minutes in third period, I need someone to be in our room. I gotta use the bathroom. I need a break, and
Yeah.
that can really decrease a lot of those stressors too. So I just think about those little small things here and there that build that community up. Um,
Hmm.
but it just depends on the actual space.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that tool too that you just gave our participants and folks who watch the recording of. That's a great question to ask in an interview, and to hear about how admin is supportive and what the current educators or staff experience is there. So I love that. Thank you for that. Um, so we have another question from an attendee. Is there a stigma for asking for help as an educator when it comes to these stressors, um, and navigating these stressors?
I think so. uh,
Yeah.
especially as you go throughout the years, I always reference might be the greatest show I've ever seen in my life, Abbott Elementary. I love Abbott Elementary. Me and my wife watch it whenever. Well, we watch it. We're probably gonna rewatch it when we get off the call, because I think about someone who is new. Thinking about Janine, thinking about all the way up to Miss Barbara. Like Miss Barbara
Mhm.
does not want to ask questions. There's a whole episode, there's a whole space where she's like, I'm not gonna be able, like, I'm not asking for it. Like, why would I do that? Like, I outrank anyone here. I've been here forever. And that pride is very important. But as things ever change, I think teaching is cool because it's constantly ever changing. Like the fact that I got back into school and it was virtual learning and I had to straight up use the internet thing. And then I had my going, she's like, yeah. So being able to have that um ability is really hard. Like to be like,
Mhm.
hey man, I'm still coachable. I've been teaching I'm about to retire next year. What are you doing right now to be great in your classroom? Because at a certain point, I'm just trying to get throughout the day. But sometimes it's like, man, I need to take a step back and realize I don't know how to do this. And I will ask, I am 100% of your classroom. I need your help. And that is really hard because also people have a lot of stuff to do. They don't want to bother you when it comes down to
Mhm.
it. Like, I want to respect your space. You have boundaries. I want to be in your room 24/7. Being able to set a boundary as a customer and also vice versa is very, very important. But yeah, there is very,
Thanks for that, Jody. Here we go.
I think if I can just add just one piece on that,
Yeah,
I think what I would say is, and just forgive me because I'm unapologetic. I think it really depends, right, on
sure.
where you work
Hmm.
and whether that be school building, school district, right? Because
Hmm.
I welcome my staff to say, you know what, Doc, I'm just not feeling it, right? I'm struggling,
Yeah.
right? I need 5, 10 minutes, or you know what, I need a day.
Hmm.
I'm gonna help them find a sub. I've been a teacher, right?
Hmm.
Do I need to come fill in for your class? You might need 15 minutes.
Hmm.
If I can step in at that minute, I'm gonna make it happen because I think again, so often, we put so much on our staff. And
Hmm.
again, oftentimes we say teachers, but we got to stop bucketing the conversation around just teachers.
Sure.
It may
Yeah.
be now I don't pretend to know how to do social work, but if I need to
Yeah.
give my social work and we need to do a walk and talk, right? Let's do a walk and talk. I'm gonna listen to you for 20 minutes, and if you need to cry, let's make it happen. Because again,
Hmm.
we have to put human, and I always said we have to put human back in human resources, but we got to
Hmm.
put human back in teaching, human back in education. Because again, if not us, then who, right?
Yeah.
This, and we oftentimes we say that we can't get folks back into the profession. Why not? Right? There's
Hmm.
plenty of folks that are interested, but
Hmm.
if we're continuing to put more work on them and we say, you know what, we don't have time to have you come in our office and have a conversation, then guess
Yeah.
what? I'm not joining the profession either, right?
Yeah.
That's my mantra. Feel free to steal it.
I just might. No, but that's absolutely perfectly said. And I think leading with humanity is necessary in a lot of professions and especially in education where we are leading young folks and leading kids and leading students in different capacities. So thank you for naming that and bringing that into the space. And another perfect segue, one of our attendees has shared that they have taught for 28 years. Um, and they want to hear from you both about how they can battle burnout and mental fatigue, particularly when they do not have a supportive community among fellow teachers at their school.
this
Jody,
is
what
the
you got? Go
perfect.
ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You got it.
I was I was gonna say it's the perfect opportunity to plug my nonprofit Cornbread Yoga. We specialize on teacher work. If you live in San Antonio for real. Well, one of the cool things that I thought was really, really, really helpful, because I realized I haven't really talked about yoga at all during this. And I think it's really important too, because there are, and that's a boundary I kind of set a lot of times when I'm teaching, but those things kind of come hand in hand. Uh, I think the coolest thing ever is that, and I always say this, like truthfully, you know yourself better than anyone else. You know what makes you feel happy and joyful. You know what helps reset you. But at the same time, there's a lot of other ways to do so. So being able to, I know for me, my yoga practice is it's very light. I'm not going to 2 hour heated vinyasa doing handstands and transitioning to levitating. I cannot fly. I don't have that power yet. But I do know like when I do spend the first 5 minutes, and this is a very chill thing that I love doing in the morning, and I love when I'm relaxing afterwards. Like 5 minutes, whether I'm gonna like get out of my bed and meditate, because when I meditate in my bed, I'm just sleeping. But when I get up and like lay on the ground, whether I'm laying like on the hardwood floor on my yoga mat, or maybe I just take a minute to stretch, get my spine moving, get my hips open a little bit. I'll take 5 minutes, I'll start breathing calmly, and then I'll start my day. Vice versa, in the evening, I'll do a very quick, gentle 5 minute of just deep breathing and letting myself relax and calm, not only, of course, to calm down my nervous system, but also like my hips be tight. They're just internally, they're internally tight. So that little small change, and just like how I operate really was pretty beneficial, especially when I was doing it over long term. Even if like I had to get out of bed, I gotta get out of bed and do this real quick. And it's not anything painful, but I noticed like that would be really effective. And then of course when I can get to class and being in the separate space, that can be a lot. That can be a lot to help just get my body and my mind accustomed. Like, hey, there's a safe space. I feel confident with this instructor. I like this practice. It smells nice when I walk in the lobby. Hey, it's just a safe space for me overall to reset. Whether you are getting up at 5 a.m. For a practice, or you're slowly getting into the room, I think it's important just to slow down and just breathe, work on calming down the nervous system, and then going about your day. So that's been very effective. Not that my shameless plug for my yoga, but also just in general, if you have that, whether you do like doing virtual, or you like being in person, or if you just want to go to a park that's around you and just listen to all the amazing senses, or not listen, being able to like absorb all those senses, it can really be awesome. But yeah, and then there's only yoga mats are like $5, so I got one from the Dollar
Yeah.
General because I forgot mine in class, and it was like, and that really helps. Like, hey, this is my safe space. This yoga mat, this 6x4 yoga mat is now my safe space, just a reset. But yeah.
Yeah. So, Jody, does Cornbread Yoga have some virtual videos or virtual resources that folks can access if they are not in your area?
Yeah, right when the pandemic is, I'm not trying to be, oh, I ain't trying to be funny, but I'm not trying to be funny. No. So I've made a YouTube channel with my aunt, who actually is the teacher, and also she just won Teacher of the Year. I just saw her little post on.
Oh, yes. Congratulations.
Good job, Auntie. I gotta call her later. But yeah, me and her made I used to be work for the Kids Museum, and I made these videos, these animal videos for kids, like literal 5-year-olds, and I made like 10 of them. And back in 2020 during quarantine, because I had nothing to do, and I realized when I look back on those videos, I do those in the class now because it's like such a way to reground and reset yourself. Like, you're a kid in a space on your yoga mat, because that's how I act. Like that entire video series. So I will find the YouTube series. It's a handful of videos. It's working the spine, it's working hips. It's that thing, that 5 minutes before and after, like me actually waking up. And that's what I do for my yoga practice. Yeah, I do all the cool arm balances and hand balance, but like honestly, the 99% of my practice is those animal videos. I want to try to find it. But yeah, I know it's still on there.
Nice. Okay. Happy to share those resources with our folks as well. So Dr. Eddie, just orienting us back to our participants' question, what are some things that they could take into consideration, or any tips for them who are not in a community that sounds supportive with their colleagues and fellow teachers?
First I want to give a shout out for teaching for 28 years, right? That is,
Yeah,
that is
impressive.
kudos to you. That's impressive.
Mhm.
Right? What I would add is that, oftentimes, that's what I hear in community, right? I don't have the supportive network within my building, or
Mhm.
could be the supportive network within my district. But what I would say to the attendee is this, right? What are you doing? The first question is, what I would say, what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to kind of support yourself in terms of burnout, right? I know you're burned out in terms of, and battling mental fatigue, but what are you doing to ensure that you stay grounded in the work? Because you've stayed into teaching this long, and you must be doing something in terms of this. But what I would say to you is, you know, ensure that you're taking care of yourself, whether that be going for a walk, right, in the mornings. Or I know I did see one question in there that says, how are you not taking work home, when you're
Mhm.
focusing on kids? But
Mhm.
I would encourage you, right? I would encourage you to limit that as much as possible. But again, really find find time within that school day to again have that conversation with your school leader, right? If you don't feel like you have that school leader, again, find someone within that school district that you trust and that you can build a relationship with to have a conversation. Again, I think it's
Mhm.
it's power in community. It's power in community. It's power in collaboration. And again, even if you don't have it in within that building, there are opportunities. There are opportunities that I believe where your principal could either A, build it, because what we did was we built an SEL, a SEL block. It's only 23 minutes, but it gives our teachers an opportunity to connect with their students, but also connect with other peers within the district.
Mhm.
So there are opportunities that you can get collaborative, with your principal and other leaders within the district.
Yeah, thanks for that. So Jody, tell us about going back to the classroom. Tell us about that journey and how that's going and what you're excited about.
Yeah. Thank you for actually it's been very interesting too because the big thing um I know I always talk to my parents about like my day to day. So, eventually maybe I can teach for, until I retire. Because that's what the goal is. I love teaching. I love the flexibility of it at times. I love like coming to school and then kids just randomly like, hey man, you doing good? I'm like, yeah, all right. You have any food? I'm like, "Eh." And that's, it's really fun to me, but also that pride and energy of saying I'm an educator. I'm able to present myself as that, like at that, even when I'm getting a free car wash because it's a free teacher week, or being introduced as like, oh, this is the science teacher who like that really means a lot to me. I know titles shouldn't mean that a lot, but it does. Like I'm very prideful of it. And even when I left, I'm like, I'm still an educator. Like that's just my mentality and how I go throughout it. And everything that we've been sharing are things that are just been on my mind for being able to be present and have that school system be supportive. So every note Dr. Eddie, that you shared, I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Like I'm trying to read myself, I'm like, yes, yes, like, awesome, awesome. Because those are all the things too. Like no matter what, even if it seems impossible, that's what I need. So every question that I was asked, even during my interviews, like those are essential because when it comes down to it, like people have families. Like I have a family right now. Even some houseplants together. And all these factors that even y'all are sharing, I'm looking through. I'm like, I really need to figure out how to manage myself because like if I love teaching and I do. And I know everyone like needs a effective teacher, especially a Black male who is in the STEM profession. Like, how am I going to be successful? How am I going to manage myself to show up to work every day,
Yeah.
and be the best teacher I can be, but also go home and be the best husband and
Mhm.
plant dad that I can also be as well. So those are all the key factors coming into it. And yeah, and it's been really awesome. It's been very refreshing that I'm able to share this stuff and not feel okay to be like, okay, well, it's just not going to work out because I just shared this information and it's very essential to my well-being. I think it's
Mhm.
essential to anyone's well-being that
Mhm.
we've talked about. But yeah, and I used one of these questions and I asked them, I did ask them, oh, this is a good question. Let me prompt this in one of my interviews. But yeah, I think it was, how do you help support the balancing of commitment for your teachers? Like, how do you help
Mhm.
support us whenever we need to reset? And
Yeah,
yes, I heard a really cool answer, and I think I'm gonna go with that school. It's like, yeah,
good.
that's it. That's the
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds exciting. I'm excited that students will get to experience that with you again, with you back in the classroom. Um, we have asked all of our attendee questions. So attendees, if you have any more, please drop them in the chat before we close up the panel discussion. I'm going to start wrapping it up with a question for the both of you. So as we think of the future, as we think of the current state of public education and the many changes that have happened and are happening, what is your individual dream of or for our public education system? And specifically, where and how do aspiring educators fit into that dream?
I have so many dreams. Um, I think that one dream that I have for our education system is that we, cliche, but that we continue fighting,
Mm,
that we continue fighting unapologetically for our kids, right? And when I say that is that, we have to continue um, really doing the work. And that work can be anything that you want it to be, right? But on the other side of that coin is that we have to be intentional
mhm,
about supporting the staff who serve kids, right? The staff, oftentimes have been so demoralized in the
mm,
system. And everybody knows what the system is, but education has taken a back seat, the pay, all of that, and I think to that last part of that question is where do you see aspiring Black and Latinx educators fitting in that dream, or myself? You can't be what you can't see.
mm.
For me, you can't be what you can't see. I've never had a Black male educator until I got into my master's degree program at Clemson. And I think for me, I am, I'm focused on truly ensuring that my students, you know, if they want to be in this profession, I'm going to do everything that I can in my power to
Mhm.
get them the scholarships, get them the support, as well as my staff getting them the support that they can to ensure that they are successful and thriving in this industry.
Thanks, Dr. Eddie.
yeah. I know you've been focusing in on, because it is very important for educators to to be present and be their best selves, but also to also add on to that, being able to provide like this. I like this. Somebody said this to me, and at first I kind of giggled when I heard it like years ago, but I was like, yeah, he's right. Providing this world-class instruction for students who have no idea what it means to have world-class instruction,
Mm,
even if that push is met with resilience, is really important. I know like whenever there is this idea of college for all, being able to like, hey, like no matter who you are, you will have the skills and readiness when you graduate this. If you have the desire, I will put it in you to move forward and get to higher learning. But you need to be able to be college ready, and being in that space to be important. Like no matter what, it's gonna get to you. And of course, I can't make anyone do anything, but I want you to be able to have fun and also be able to grow every year that you're here. And this sort of any way to track that um, depending on how you assess. I know I also ask students all the time, what is something that you would like to change for school? And in terms of that, because that's a question I think that realigned. They're like standardized testing. I was like, well, what do you want to change it with? Because we got to figure out if y'all know how to read or not.
mhm,
So being able, I know the cool thing is that like even with me, when I did my master's program, I was able to like, hey, like I want to build a portfolio out and just show here's my background on everything I have, and that And that was so fun because I never was able to do that for a big project. And here I am at that point. I was 30 years old, and I probably did the greatest project I've ever done in my life because someone gave me the option, show what you know, but in a different
Mhm.
way. And it was so awesome to have that. And a lot of these students are able to do that. Yes, you learn to read and write on grade level. Like we cannot just skirt away from that. But being able to represent your intelligences with the appropriate grade level, I think is really awesome. And also let students be able to take that autonomy themselves and build out, who they want to be when they grow up. Especially when, and I think high school, I mean, middle school, yeah, but being able to explore all that stuff while having the skills and knowledge is one thing I really hope moving forward. Students are able to have access to those resources so they can start building out their careers. Because some kids are like, hey, I'm gonna be an engineer. One kid said that to me when he was 10. He was not lying. He did not tell a lie at all. Like this kid is about to graduate by the age of 19 from Notre Dame. He is killing it. But
Wow.
yeah. Um,
Thank you both. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our panel discussion. Is there anything else either of you want to share or end on before we wrap up this portion? Okay.
I'm not trying to be corny or anything, but teaching reminder when for those educators or if you work around kids in any capacity, I always say this no matter what, no matter how bad the day is going, kids are hilarious. You are around kids throughout the entire day. Like sometimes it is like it's funny, like kids, because they don't, we don't know, but they definitely don't know. So being able to, even as simple as like, even if you're tired and just like saying, as I said earlier, good morning, or maybe giving a fist bump, just being your most joyful self, even though
Mhm.
sometimes you don't really want to, doesn't mean you have to like give them rainbows and sunshine every time. But just like greeting students and letting students know who are doing well can be really hard at times, especially when those Wednesdays start piling up and toward the end of the school year. Like sharing your humor, sharing who you are throughout the year, taking those little brain breaks, like hey y'all, guess what? I got I got a new cat. I don't know, I keep going to my cat. But like doing those little small things really will break up the day. And also the students, I'm a firm believer, whether it be your staff or anyone around you, people if they like you, they'll work a lot better for you. My community, whether it be my principal, whether it be the math teacher I'm working with, folks want to have a good time. They don't want to be miserable, whether it be any of those people. So being able to bring your whatever humor you have, whatever joy you have into that space whenever you can, of course, followed up by that structure can really be important. But yeah, remember you do work with kids and they are, for the most part, pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that reminder. And even ending on that, the centering and sharing joy, I think is very important. Now more than ever, and in our profession more than ever. So thank you for that. All right, so this is going to wrap up our panel discussion. I am very appreciative of you both for joining and having this conversation with us. So thank you. Thank you to the live attendees. I'm going to reshare my screen in a moment and wrap up our time together, particularly for those of you joining us live. So let's get started here. Yeah, so again, thank you all for showing up today, for being with us live. On the screen, those of you who are here live are going to see ways to stay connected via various social media platforms. You can also use the QR code on your screen to navigate to our free one-on-one coaching page. So this is, again, a free resource that we offer for you to meet with one of our licensure coaches and really learn about the licensure process, different teach resources, and how to get licensed to become a teacher in various states and regions throughout our country. And then as a very quick reminder, if you live in Colorado, Connecticut, Dallas, Houston, Minnesota, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, San Antonio, and South Carolina specifically, we have many resources for you. All you have to do is log into your Teach account with us to access scholarships, fee reimbursements, information on becoming a teacher, free advising, both in English and Spanish, and many more resources. If you are in a different state region, city that I listed, we will still do our best to support your journey to the classroom. So this brings us to the full conclusion of our webinar today and our time together. I want to thank all of you again for joining. And as a final reminder, we really encourage you to fill out our post-event survey, give us feedback. Ideally, you do this before leaving your seat while your experience at this webinar and part of this conversation is still fresh on your mind. You are welcome to scan this QR code, to pull up the survey, or as soon as we end the webinar, your browser should automatically open our feedback survey on whatever device you are joining us from. So thank you all again. Please stay tuned to our upcoming resources, our upcoming events, our upcoming resources, and we hope to see you next time. Hasta luego.